pad off. It's time for No Pad Sports Talk. Stay tuned as two brothers bring you the latest from your Michigan teams and beyond in hockey, baseball, football, and more. Let's get started. Here are your hosts, JD and Steve.
Welcome to another edition of No Pad Sports Talk. I am one of your hosts, JD.
And I'm Steve. And today's all about the Detroit Lions.
Indeed. It's been a little while since we talked some football. It's been a little bit of a hiatus. Talked a lot of baseball and stuff like that. So, hey, got to get back to football. It's there's a lot to talk about, too.
Absolutely. And just thinking about the, Lions played their first preseason game. Kind of just to jump right in. The offense looked bad, but I know we didn't have a whole lot of our starters in, right? But
no,
it just
not. I mean, there wasn't any offensive line. They all sat. Amon-Ra St. Brown didn't play. You had Jameer Gibbs. Goff didn't play. You had Sudfeld. So there wasn't really a lot to see in offense. But yeah, but you are right though. Offense looked bad. I'm a little disappointed in a couple things that I've seen personally, but I'm sure we'll get into that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so let's talk. Let's start with just the rookies. All right, the ones honestly that we need to talk about, right? Yeah. So like Jameer Gibbs, right?
Yep.
Jack Campbell had a great game.
He was fantastic.
Right? As did Brian Branch.
That hit he put on that dude, oh my God, man, he laid him out. That was great.
Yeah. So, some of these, they're already making a name for themselves during the preseason here. And it's nice to see, right?
Yeah, I mean, you could 100%. I mean, it was so evident, so clear, that Jameer Gibbs was the fastest player on that field. As soon as he hit the hole, he let me rephrase that. He was quick to get to the hole. He was quick to make a move. He was just the by far the fastest player on the field. I loved watching him. A little bit we got to see him.
Yeah. So Jameer Gibbs looked good. Let's talk. What about Adrian Martinez, the quarterback?
Mm-hmm.
Right. Nate Sudfeld kind of stunk it up. There's no real good way to say that. All right. Threw some really bad interceptions. Only had a 53% completion. And I get it's just the first game. But if you're going to be the guy, it's going to be the backup. Right?
Yeah.
I feel like Sudfeld got a pretty good contract to come back to Detroit, to be a backup quarterback, right? And that's what he's fighting for.
Right.
But, he had a QBR of 45.8.
Yeah, it was terrible.
Right? It just terrible. Right? Martinez didn't look too bad. He had a rushing touchdown. He was kind of known for that even when he was at Nebraska, even at Kansas State. Because after he left Nebraska, that's where he went. But he got hurt, and that's when that Max, the heck's his name? No, that was TCU. My bad. Anyway, I'll figure out the name. But
okay.
So Martinez went 3 for 7. He got sacked, but he had a 71 QBR. Didn't see a lot of action, obviously, but the offense just in general just looked out of sync. You know, and I would not seeing the starters play is a big reason for that. But I think on the backside of that, if the starters didn't play, then the team, the offensive line, the special, the skilled positions, those guys are playing together, right? As a unit. And when they got out there on the field, they just did not look like it. So it's a little scary when I think about, substitute players coming in, if this is how we're playing, right? But again, it's one preseason game, but the problem is we only get 3, right? And at the end of that third, we're going to be in a 53-man roster.
Right.
So some of these players need to start, showing out a little bit. I think of Drummond, right? That's the guy from Eastern Michigan.
Yep.
He was that receiver from Eastern Michigan. Yep. So he had 2 receptions for 12 yards. Again, not a lot of offense. So when I'm trying to look at the, some of the highlights here.
There's not much to be had, man. Like
there wasn't. Like
really was just terrible.
Right. Sam Laporta was only targeted once. No, I don't know. I can't remember. Yeah. So I don't know how many plays he played, like he was involved in. But on the defensive side, right, you got Campbell had 2 solo tackles, 2 assist tackles, 1 pass defense. Brian Branch had 3 solo tackles, right?
Yep.
I mean, when you look at those 2 players and you look at the rest of the stats on the team, they're at the top as far as leading, what was happening. Now, Okora had 3 sacks.
Yep.
And I should say Jay Okora. I got to look at the right one because there's 2 of them on the team. But the other one had 1 sack. So we had 5 sacks as a team in a game. That's promising from the defensive side, right?
The defensive line completely manhandled the Giants' offensive line. I mean, they were getting pressure all over the place. I don't even think, even though they had good sack totals, I don't think that told us full story. I mean, the quarterback was under duress the entire, entire game, but whatever. But yeah,
right.
It was, I don't know. Like, to me, it just looked like he was running for his life. The defensive line looked good, and it's not just our starting defensive line, even our backups, as you can tell by the Okora brothers. Like, our reserves completely dominated the Giants.
Yeah. So defensively, based on last year's, what the defense was looking like, a lot of great things happened on defense, right? Some of the, the picks, the free agents, right? Hold on. Because even some of our starters still didn't play, right?
Right.
So, all in all, I mean, we gave up in the game, they gave up 16 points. Actually, in the second half, they only gave up 3 total points in the second half.
Yeah.
The highlight for the... Yeah. The highlight of that game was the 95-yard punt return for a touchdown.
Absolutely.
That is kind of that sparked the whole the comeback, because we were down, right? We'd only scored 3 points in the first half.
Mm-hmm.
So on that 2-point conversion, Jameson Williams scored the 2-point conversion on that, and then we got an extra field goal to get the 11 points. to make it 14-13, and then Martinez was able to run one in during the fourth quarter to give us that go ahead, that safe score, right?
Well, speaking of Jameson Williams, he had his defender beat, the guy covering him. The guy was not. I mean, when I say he beat him, but it wasn't a like where he was out in front by 3 yards. He had him beat. The ball was there, but he short armed it. It's like he had his arms out and he pulled his arms back, and the ball just. I mean, it was. There's no reason why he shouldn't have caught the ball, and that would have been a big gain. Yeah. But you could tell they're trying to force feed Jameson Williams. Sudfeld was. Both of his interceptions came with passing plays Jameson Williams. He had I believe it was on the first one. Williams running kind of like a little out. He's running towards the sideline. I can't remember if he started on the left side of the center or right side, but anyways, he was on the right side, running towards the sideline. Sudfeld tried hitting him, but he had to throw it over the linebacker's head, and the ball just sailed. I mean, Williams had no chance at it, right? It just went right into the opposing team's defensive arms, and that was his first one, and it was bad. But the second one was and anyway, like I said, you could tell he was trying to force feed it. But and Williams played a ton, and honestly, he did not look great. He had a nice catch on that 2-point conversion. I mean, you got to give credit where credit's due. But nonetheless, like the rest of the play, he had a good blocking. There was a nice long play. And Jameson Williams, did his job and blocked downfield. Good for him, right? But he's not, from what I could see trying to watch him, specifically, I don't think he was running crisp routes. And I was a little disappointed because I know he's trying to work on his route running abilities, during the offseason. And his routes weren't crisp. I know, back in college, he was able to rely on his speed to kind of outrun people and create separation that way. And in the NFL, it's different, right? Everybody's fast. You got linebackers running.
Everybody's fast.
And Jameson Williams just wasn't able to create the separation when it came to, with the speed. He's got to get better with his route running. That's the first thing I see, right? Like, he's got to get better with his route running. But I do believe that if he does, he's gonna be a monster because he does have some awesome straight line speed. But he's got to create the separation.
I was gonna say you got to get the separation so you can get open.
Yeah.
So I didn't get to watch a lot of that game. I did catch some of the plays, not a lot, because having been up in the UP, this connection wasn't very good. But I'd get like 5 seconds, and it would pause, and then I'd catch 20 seconds later. Yeah. So there was only so much of that I could actually watch before I just had to, shut it down. But just some of the highlights that I saw, like I like what I saw from the defense, especially the front seven. And specifically the defensive line. So those guys were hungry. They wanted it more, and they went out and they showed it. Now, having played football, I will tell you that defenses will always look better early.
Yes, true.
Than an offense, right?
Yep.
Because it's not always about. Exactly. So it's not about, it's just timing and, feeling comfortable about who, making sure that people are going to be where they need to be when you throw them a ball.
Right.
So we giving the credit where it's due because they played great, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just, they had to settle down after the first half, coming out that second half, and they showed out. And I liked what I saw from the defense. Special teams looked good. So that's two facets of the three, right? So as the offense starts to feel a little bit better, we're going to know a lot more, I think, after we play Jacksonville this week. Because Now they've had that live action, and that's the biggest thing, right? Having live action is totally different than practice.
Right.
Right. So they've had it. They've got some game film now. They can go back, see what they did. Hopefully Sudville spent a lot of time in there and says, hey, I can't stare down my receivers like this. Right? I get that you want to throw it to, a number one receiver because you're not going to get an opportunity like that too often, right? Because the only reason Jameson Williams is playing as much as he's playing is because everyone knows he's out for 6 weeks when the season starts.
Of course.
Right? So
Yep.
they are trying to give him as many reps as they can.
Yep.
Over at least this game and the next game. I don't know how much we're going to see him in game 3. He might play a series. They might try and throw, make something and, to kind of get him involved in the game plan. Maybe they need to do something, not wide receiver screen, but like an end around, whatever.
I'd still play him because what do you got to lose? He's gone 6 weeks anyways. Unless
It's
you're
true.
having like some
If he
sort
gets
of,
hurt,
like,
he's got 6 weeks to recover.
6 weeks. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd play him. He needs as much time as he can get.
And because he's suspended, can he? He can't be at the team facility for 6 weeks,
No.
right?
He can't.
So he has to practice and work out and do all those things off somewhere else.
Yes.
So hopefully he does that. Because if not, he's gonna come back and be way out of shape. And it's gonna be like last year. We're not gonna get a whole lot out of him. And
Correct.
everybody's quick to think and talk, use the word bust, right?
That's
I don't
true.
want to call him a bust, right?
No, I wouldn't.
But he's
I
gonna-
think it's too early.
yeah.
Still.
Yeah. I want to see what he can do in 12 games at the end of the season,
Yep.
right? So we have 12 regular season games when he comes back. I'm hoping we make the playoffs, so that's another game, right? How's he going to perform in big situations, and how is he going to handle that,
Right.
right? Yesterday when we talked Tigers Talk, we talked about, being human, being a good person, right? Obviously, Jameson Williams had some things that's why he's suspended for 6 weeks. So he's got to get his mind right. This is his job. Yeah, I know it's a game, but it's his job. This is what he's getting paid to do. We need you to be on the field, and we need you to perform. Right? So I would just hate to see another high-picked receiver bust for the Lions. Right?
Yeah. Yep.
It's shades of Matt Millen.
Yeah, absolutely.
That
And
that's
you traded up to get him,
scary.
right?
But we traded up to get him. So I can't not have that feeling. Right? Because we lived through the Matt Millen years. And it was painful. Painful. Matt Millen put the Lions back so far. They're still trying to recover.
Yeah, more or less, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, but that's kind of, that was that game with the Giants. They did pull it out, which is great. It was nice to see those guys take it seriously, and it means something to those young players, right?
Yeah.
Because they might only get 3 games, and then they're going to get cut.
I think we gotta, before we end on the Giants though, I think we gotta call out one additional person that had a really good game, and it came at the end of the game. And I know, like basically backups for every, both sides are playing, so you gotta take it with a grain of salt. I know, I understand all that, but Coda,
Yeah.
Coda actually played really well as a wide receiver. He caught some good passes. He ran some good routes. I mean, he performed, and that's all. That's
Yeah.
You can't pick and choose as a player when you're going to play, right? So you just have to
Right.
make the best of it when you get the opportunity, and Coda did, and I really believe that he turned some heads during that game,
Yeah.
specifically coaches' heads, because he played well.
Yeah, he was the leading receiver for the game. He was tied for the most targets, had the most receptions, the most yards. Right? So, I mean, took advantage of his opportunity, just like you said.
Yeah.
That's what preseason is about. Because if you're not going to make the team, there's the practice squad, right?
Or
not that you're trying to play.
And
maybe
you get on
exactly.
Team, right?
And they pick you up saying, you know what, we like what we saw and we want you on our team and we're going to put you on a 53-man roster.
Right.
So you got to get out there and take advantage. And he did.
Yes, he did. It was great, honestly, to see him. But anyway, I was excited.
Yep. So that's the Giants. We're on to Jacksonville this week on Saturday. Monday after that game, apparently we've had some injuries this week. Injuries and illness.
Yes.
That have struck the Lions. And some of like Jameson Williams has got a hamstring injury now. Right? And I haven't seen how serious it is. As I was looking, I just, Amon-Ra St. Brown got hurt, didn't come back to practice. And that's a huge one.
But from what I read, right, is that he did attempt to come back, like he wanted to, but the coaches shut him down. So I have to believe that if it was an actual game, he would have played. So but, I mean, it's practice. So why chance it? Why risk it?
Right. Get in, get some work done on it. Come back tomorrow feeling better about it. Right.
Right.
So, but as a competitor, and he's a competitor, we've seen him.
Oh my God!
Right?
That dude, he's actually my favorite Lion right now because of that.
Yeah.
The guy's feisty. He's got a chip on his shoulder. He just plays hard every single down. I love that guy.
He's the guy that knows every receiver that got selected before him.
Yes, he does.
So, let's talk about a chip on your shoulder. That's I'm going to go out there and make all of those guys look bad and make all those teams who passed on me look even worse.
Exactly. Yep.
So, I love him just like you do. I like that kind of scrappy kind of player, but he doesn't just talk. He goes up there and he just lets his gang do all the talking for him.
Yeah. Yeah, he's of course, for those people, friends of the show that watch this, I mean, I don't think it's original or anything, but I started calling him, Amon-Ra first down. The guy is just and not only is he an amazing player, but from all accounts and everything I've seen, going along with the theme of yesterday's, show that we talked about, he seems like a really good person.
Yeah.
It's someone I can really get behind.
Yeah. Yep. So, hoping it, it's just something minor. He tweaked a little something. He just needs a couple, a little bit of rest, and everything's gonna be fine. We obviously he wasn't gonna play at all. I don't think that on Saturday, right? Goff is not gonna play on Saturday.
Yeah, it's tough to know if they're going to play the second week or the third week, right? It really is.
Yeah.
Because I think last year we've seen different teams do different things.
Exactly. So, when there were 4 preseason games, week 3 was always the first half. You saw your starters.
Yeah.
For both sides of the ball, right? And week 4, everybody rested their starters, and it was just those guys that were on the cusp. right? Ones that needed a little extra film before they made the decision about who they're going to cut at the end. So I always looked at it, your starters. In the old days, it was the starters played, like one series in game one just to get the feel of the game. They might have played one quarter in game two. They played 2 quarters in game three and nothing in game four.
Right. Yeah.
Uh,
And but talking about the joint practices that's been going on, um, like something that prideofdetroit.com. So anytime we um, reference something, we want to make sure we give credit where credit is due. But prideofdetroit.com, I'm sure it's something that you listeners read quite often because they are a very in-depth website or in-depth coverage of the Lions, and they get to go to a
yep.
lot of their their trainings and practices and all that kind of stuff. So they had a nice little rundown of some of their practices, and that's where I got the thing about Amon-Ra St. Brown. After he got his ankle taped, he tried to come back, but the coaches didn't let him. Um, there's only 3 people that was at the joint practice today, specifically today, that were not accounted for, and that was the running back Mohamed Ibrahim and wide receivers Mims and Alexander.
Yep.
So they don't really know where they were at, but everybody else was healthy. Which is
Right.
great news. But a couple other stuff I want to point out that they've talked about as far as the joint practices go is Khalif Raymond looked fantastic. He rose to the occasion because a lot of
Yep.
like we just talked about, Williams and Ross St. Brown had to sit down, but Marvin Jones Jr., Dylan Raymond, and Chase Cota, they all filled in on the outside receivers for the first team offense. So you can kind of tell how Chase Cota is getting some respect now, playing with the first team offense in the joint practice.
Yeah.
Um, they talk about how the run game finally looked good, and they reference Jahmyr Gibbs specifically as far as having a 10-yard rush behind the offensive line, and Dan Campbell talked about David Montgomery, how his biggest assets being on the break tackles, but with the joint practice and stuff like that, they don't have a chance to really hit and break tackles and whatnot. Um,
Exactly.
Taylor Decker was going against Josh Allen, and Allen didn't beat Decker cleanly on any of the drills, any of the plays, but he definitely pushed Decker back into the pocket quite often and made Goff uncomfortable. And speaking of Goff, he did not have a great day. He had some poor throws and poor decisions, and that, in my opinion, is really, really bad because the offense is only going to go as far as Goff takes them. So I know we're all
Yep.
looking for winning the division and going to the playoffs, but it all rests on Goff, and hopefully now Jaguars are a good defensive team, so we got to keep that in mind. And
Absolutely, they are.
um, but it's and so the timing's off, right? Because he underthrew Raymond up a seam. Devin Lloyd picked it off with a one-handed interception, and he almost threw another one to Lloyd a few series later. So, um, but it's a timing thing that you just got done talking about, right? How offense
Yep.
struggles at the beginning because it's all about that. So we'll see if how Goff rebounds. Um, I guess as well that the um, Jaguars picked apart the Lions secondary for the first part of practice, but then they rebounded, and the secondary actually did pretty good. They particularly call out Cam Sutton. He had an interception, and Malcolm Rodriguez had an interception. Brian Branch had 2 pass breakups, and so yeah, they came back later on. So that was nice to see. Um, And aside from those observations, they just talk about Drummond and Coda, and they said that they both had strong days. And Coda had the longest play of practice with a 50-yard touchdown pass from Setfeld, and that Drummond found a nice chemistry with Teddy Bridgewater with back-to-back first downs, including nice diving catch. So
yeah, says Gardner Johnson also had. Yeah, Gardner Johnson had a couple of good hits for some fumbles. In that same article that you're reading, I pulled the same thing up as you were looking at it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's so you mentioned Teddy Bridgewater.
Yep.
What do you think of that signing?
I love it. There's absolutely no downfall to it. I mean, hypothetically, I hope it doesn't happen. But if Goff goes down, I feel a lot more comfortable with Bridgewater under center than Sudfeld. I'm not a Sudfeld fan. I've never been a Sudfeld fan. I wanted them to do something with the backup quarterback spot for a while. I don't trust Sudfeld at all, and I don't think that. And I think it's obvious that the coaching staff didn't either, because if they did, Bridgewater wouldn't be on the team. But I've always been a fan of Bridgewater. I'm not the biggest fan. Like I've never been like a cheerleader saying, "Oh, he's the best ever" or anything. But I've always.
That's because he started out in Minnesota and he was always playing against us, so we didn't want to root for him too hard.
Right. But he got down to the Saints, and and he kind of showed what he was capable of doing. So.
Absolutely, he was a when see who, not it wasn't Breeze, guy from Tampa. Anyway, when Bridgewater had to come in because the guy went down and got hurt, and he played well for the team. There was a and I think after he went to Carolina, and that was just a mess.
Yeah.
The whole Carolina quarterback thing, that's what a nightmare. But I was glad to see him signed by the Lions. That's a great veteran presence. And he's got lots and lots of experience as a starter, as a backup. Like, Teddy Bridgewater is going to come in. He's a super professional. He knows his role, and he's only there to help the team win. And he's going to do whatever he can to do that. So,
and they signed him for only $3 million. Like, there is literally no downside to this. It was a 1-year deal, $3 million. There's no downside. It's not like it's some backloaded contract that they're going to eat later or whatever. Like, it's 1 year, $3 million for a player of Bridgewater's caliber. I said that backwards. And I think I don't see a downside to it. It's a great signing.
Yeah. So, very excited. I was excited when I saw that. Can't remember if we talked about it on an episode before that he was signed, but I know we talked about it offline.
I think we did talk about it on our podcast, just because there was a lot of rumors, and he was flying in, visiting the Lions facilities. I think we did talk about it on the podcast.
So, yeah, I'm excited. I'm hoping he actually gets the start in Jacksonville. Even if it's just a couple of series so he can get his feet wet, and then they bring in Nate Sudfeld. But I'd like to see what he can do running the offense. So I think if you can get him out there early when some of the second stringers are there, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
As far as the competition level, I'd like to see him play against some higher competition level than trying to bring him in the fourth quarter and, cleanup duty, basically.
I do expect him to play Saturday, but, because he's only been on the team for such a short amount of time, I don't expect him to play much either, right? Like, it's probably going to be a series or two, like you were kind of saying, get his feet wet, let him throw the ball a little bit. He's got to, he really does, because like you said, 3 preseason games. Like, he has to see some game action before he might be called upon.
Yeah. So, there's that. So, let's talk quarterback. Since we're talking Teddy Bridgewater, let's talk quarterback position with the Lions just a little bit, right?
Okay.
We all know they drafted Hendon Hooker, and we know he's coming off an injury. My thought is that they need to bring him back, Hendon Hooker, they need to bring him back slow, right? So, I would almost like, I don't want him to take a whole year off because, you get rusty, right?
Yeah, sure.
So, but I don't want to see him get any playing time. So, do the Lions keep 3 quarterbacks?
Yes.
And then what happens with Adrian Martinez?
He's gone. I don't care.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I don't want to sound like a, look, sign on the practice squad, right? If nobody else signs him, I got no issues with that. But I would obviously, I mean, Goff, number 1. We just got Bridgewater for number 2, right? So they're set in stone. And
yeah,
and Sudfeld, again, don't give a crap about that guy. He's got to go. But I'm not going to keep Martinez over Sudfeld just because, again, of the experience. Like, I'm going to keep Sudfeld. I'm going to try to stash Martinez on the practice squad, keep Sudfeld, and week 8, 10, 12, whatever it is, when Hendon Hooker can come back, I'm going to put him on the active roster, right? He's going to take the third quarterback spot. Just like you're saying, I hope he doesn't get a chance to play in a live game because I agree. I want him to come back slowly. I don't want there to be any pressure or unnecessary hits on his body right now, so bring him back slowly. Absolutely, but as soon as he's healthy, Sudfeld's gone. There's no reason to keep him. And then next year you go into the season with Goff and Hooker.
So I assume Hendon Hooker's probably gonna be on the IR.
I'd assume.
Right? So that that way we can still carry the 3 quarterbacks, the Sudfeld, Bridgewater, and Goff. Right?
Right.
But as soon as they go to bring him back, you're right. Sudfeld's going to have to leave.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I liked Hendon Hooker. I like what he can bring to the to the NFL. But again, like we said, I don't want to see him come back too soon and never live up to his potential.
Well, I like his attitude too. He seems like he has a great attitude, a great outlook. And it probably comes when he's 25 years old as well, but whatever. Right. But he has a good outlook when it comes to him being in the NFL, being a backup quarterback, to begin. Like, he's got a great outlook and all that stuff. And someone that's coming from college that's, let's face it, he was successful, with Tennessee.
Yeah.
And it's not always easy to sit behind somebody. Doesn't matter what position you're playing, cornerback, wide receiver, running back, it makes no difference.
Yeah.
When you're successful in college, it's hard to sit behind someone else. But he just has this fantastic attitude towards it all. Like, I'm going to learn as much as I can from Goff. He believes he's going to get his chances, and with this coaching staff, he absolutely will, because they don't care what your name is. They're going to give you your chances to earn a job. So,
yeah.
And so I just love his outlook. He does not have a bad attitude at all. And that's the first step, I think, in becoming a successful NFL player, or honestly, successful in whatever you do.
Oh, absolutely. So if I remember right, he had to beat out somebody at Tennessee, Joe Milton. So Joe Milton started out as the Michigan quarterback. He started 3 games and was just horrible. And then I think that's when McNamara came in and he took over the team. the next year, Joe Milton transferred to Tennessee, and he was supposed to be the guy. Well, he played like crap there too. And Hendon Hooker beat him out. And, he had a great season. And now they're talking about Joe Milton again here at Tennessee, but because he's going to be the guy going into the fall this year at Tennessee. But
Yeah,
Joe Milton's not, I should say, Hendon Hooker's not, he's used to some adversity, is what I was trying to get at.
Now, Milton, two things about Milton, just for those that don't know. His cousins are like Anquan and DJ Bolden. So I don't know if anybody listening knew that. But on top of that, the Hooker beat him out because Milton ended up getting hurt after the week 2 game. So, but then Hooker took over and didn't look back, right? Like he just had
Yep.
He was a starter from then on.
So I just, I think Hendon Hooker's going to be good for the Lions, as long as the Lions do it right. So, he's got a big arm. He can move around. It's going to be a different style quarterback that we've seen with the Lions in a while, right? I think the Lions typically have, that prototypical. I mean, we had Matt Stafford for all those years, right? Matt Stafford does not run.
No.
I think, what I'd like to see? Tom Brady and Matt Stafford run a 40-yard distance and see who wins.
Oh, man.
Because I would give it to Stafford, only because he's younger. But,
right.
I don't want to go past the wily veteran there. I know he's not playing anymore, but dang, like, neither one of them, they're not light on their feet.
No, and I don't.
And Tom Brady got to show that in the Super Bowl.
I'm trying to think if there's any quarterbacks in the NFL that'd be slower. And I really can't think of any. Huh. That's a good question. But yeah, I agree. Hendon Hooker, right? Like the guy has a great chance to be a type of quarterback that the Lions have never had. Really, kind of like an athlete that can move, run a little bit,
right,
and throw the ball. I mean, regardless of what happens, like you just can't. He's a quarterback first. They have to be able to throw and throw accurately.
Yep.
I don't now. I'm changing the subject real quick slightly because I just want to know if, for those that don't know, my brother Steve is a huge Washington Commanders fan, and and Washington Commanders drafted a quarterback that I was really high on, and my brother was really high on, and Sam Howell. So, we're talking about other quarterbacks here real quick, and Sam Howell actually has a chance to start, and I think he will be the starter opening day. But
I think so.
He was 9 for 12 for 77 yards and 1 touchdown, no interceptions.
Yep.
So that has to bring hope to the fans of the Washington Commanders. I like that.
Absolutely.
I was just going to say the other 2 quarterbacks for the Commanders each threw an interception.
Well, who do the Commanders have now as an offensive coordinator?
Who's that, brother?
It's my brain fog. It was Kansas City Chiefs. Kansas City Chiefs offensive coordinator last year, or for several years. Right?
Bieniemy, right? Is it Bieniemy?
Yeah, Eric Bieniemy.
Yeah.
Yep, Eric Bieniemy. So, no one could ever understand why Bieniemy was not getting a head coaching job, right? Based on what they were doing. And everyone kind of, he's not really, he's kind of the offensive coordinator by title, right? Because he was under, the head coach was making the calls. Well, that's what, some of the rumors were, right?
Mhm.
And now he's getting a chance with the Commanders. It's his team. It's his offense. And I think he's got a guy in Sam Howell that he can mold and create, because Sam Howell did that, right? He might not have the same throwing mechanics as Patrick Mahomes. I don't know that anybody does. Patrick Mahomes is kind of a one-off kind of guy, right?
Yeah, sure.
I mean,
Yep.
so you don't want to have the same guy, but I think he's good at taking quarterbacks and making them better. So developing plays to use their talents.
Mm-hmm.
So in Sam Howell, he's got a guy that's ready to learn. And I think the Commanders are going to, be tough in the East. Now, over the last several years, the NFC East hasn't been that great, other than Philadelphia.
Philadelphia, right? Yeah.
Right? So, we'll see, obviously. But, I still think Philly's going to win that division. But I think the Commanders have a chance to get a wild card coming out of there. Just, based on the NFC's kind of tough anyway. If you look at, teams that are the wild card team, you got to get 9 wins.
Yeah.
Right? And now that they're playing 18 games, 10 is better. But it's not like, I think the AFC usually has those teams that are winning 10, 11, 12, 13 games a year.
Mm-hmm.
There are more of them on the AFC side than there are on the NFC side.
Right.
So being 9-9, I don't know, they're playing 17 games. So being 9-8 is good. That's gonna get you a wild card berth. So, but the Commanders could look better. They've got some talent on both sides of the ball. So, we'll see how that goes. I'm excited about my and I almost said Redskins because it's still hard.
Right.
Right? The change. But watching the Commanders, I want to see what they can do. Come out of the gate strong. And then, if they come out strong and they can finish strong, that shows me, how they've dealt with things throughout the season.
Yeah, I don't know. I know we kind of like a little hard right turn there, and that's my fault. But so like myself, just like with baseball, I'm a fan of teams like the Lions, but I'm also a fan of certain players, right? So I like to watch certain players, and for me, that's Sam Howell. He just happens to be on your favorite team, but I'm a fan of Sam Howell.
Right.
I want to see him play well.
Yep.
And it sucks that they're in the NFC with the Lions. I would have, it'd be better if they were in the AFC, so I have a team to root for in the AFC, but yeah, so I'll be rooting for the Commanders just because of Sam Howell, and that's just the way it's going to be. But anyways, like I said, that was my fault. I wanted to bring him up just because he had a pretty good preseason game, and I think it needed to be.
Yeah, he did.
So, but anyways, kind of going back to the Lions though.
Coming back to the Lions.
This game against Jacksonville, I know you're saying that we want Bridgewater to get some playing time, and he should. But to me, it's gonna be another game. Watching, like, what I want to see is I want to see the defensive line dominate again. I want to see Jack Campbell continue to improve. I want to see Brian Branch make some plays, just like we talked about. Let's see the rookies step up, because the rookies are, if the Lions have a chance at winning the division and even winning the playoff game, the rookies have to play good, not just good. And so we have to lean on them. So Campbell, Gibbs, Branch, especially those three. I want to see Laporta actually do something. And during the draft we talked about it. Like as far as the tight end goes, like I I've never been high on taking a tight end early. I know Laporta was not taken in the first round. Um, and I do not I don't deny that he might be the best all around tight end in the draft, and we got him in the second. Great, like 100% all of that, right? But
Yep.
I what I don't want is I just don't want to be right. That's all. I don't want to be right. I want Laporta to be an amazing addition to this team. And I know he didn't get a lot of opportunities in the first game, but why? Like, why did he only get one pass thrown to him? Was he really that covered that well? Was he mainly
Right.
blocking? Like, and the one pass
Yeah.
that did get to him, he dropped. I just
Yeah.
that was the biggest disappointment for me in that game was because Sudfeld. I know he played crappy, but I expect Sudfeld to be sucky. Laporta. That's why he was such a big disappointment. Like, I didn't expect him to be kind of bad. So
Right.
I want to see something from Laporta. The rookies have to step up. So um
And,
and
and they do. And they do, right?
yeah.
So we'll see. They're going up against Jacksonville. Jacksonville's going to be a good team. I think they're going to be a good team this year.
Yeah.
I think they can make a playoff run. So I think Jacksonville's going to be a team to watch.
I agree. And and Trevor Lawrence, I think he's going to take another step forward. The guy was not he's not a bad quarterback. His rookie season, man, the rookie season was a mess. The coach was, I mean, let's face it, like
Yeah.
the rookie season was terrible. Write that off. That was a terrible season for everybody
Right.
on that team. But
Yep.
you've seen him make some pretty good gains last year, and I think he's taking another
Yeah.
leap forward this year. Like, Trevor Lawrence is a good quarterback.
Yeah. And Doug Peterson is a good coach.
Yeah. Yeah, agreed.
So, and he's just going to make him better. So, Trevor Lawrence is going to look good. They're going to have all their keep guys back. They got a new receiver out there. Calvin Ridley's back.
Yep.
And he was exciting to watch. So we'll see if he's still just as explosive as he was before he left for his year-long suspension.
Well, I know he beat. Oh, who did they say he beat? I got to read that again. In that article that we're referencing from Pride of Detroit, but whoever was covering him basically gave up chase, like just stopped running
Yeah.
with him, and then the quarterback just threw a bomb and Calvin Ridley caught it and it was a touchdown in practice. So
Yeah.
Ridley still got the speed going on. So yeah, I think he will be exciting. So
Yep.
good addition.
So,
But
yeah.
yeah, we're definitely going to try to cover the game, when the Lions play. Try to cover it afterwards. Hopefully, my brother won't be as sick as what he is today. And
Yeah. It started a little yesterday, and then all of a sudden, like, I started to come back down here, and it's just hit me full force. So,
Yeah.
whew.
But anyway, like, look, that's what we got to watch out for, right? Is because if we win, it's nice to win. Confidence gain, all that kind of stuff. It's nice to win.
Yep.
Preseason, I personally, I'm not worried about wins and losses. It's just a preseason, but it is nice to come away with the W if
Yeah.
it happens.
Well, if Lions fans remember the year that the Lions went 4-0 in the preseason, they went 0-16 in the regular season. So
What? Yeah,
I like to always bring that up.
yeah. So we can tell just how much the preseason actually means in terms of wins and losses.
Exactly. So, I don't want to take anything away from the Ravens because they're like on a 23-game preseason win streak, right?
Yeah.
I think that's what it was. If it's either at home or whatever it was, but cool win streaks are awesome, but it is still preseason.
Preseason. What have the
Right.
Ravens won during this preseason streak,
Yeah.
right? So
They turn around and they come 8-8.
yeah, who cares?
So-
Preseason, who cares?
Exactly.
But at any rate, that's pretty much what we want to kind of discuss with the Lions today.
Yeah.
It was nice to talk some football again. It's we got hockey going to start it back up here soon. Basketball starting back up here soon. We're going to have a lot of stuff to start talking about, and so we're definitely going to try to increase the number of videos we put out. Try to cover it all.
Absolutely.
Because look, we're just sports fans, right? That's all there is to it. We're just sports fans. We love sports. We like talking about them, and that's kind of what the show is about. It's me and my brother talking sports, and you guys tagging along, right? like being around at the family dinner table as being discussed. We'd love to actually discuss sports with you, though. So in the comments, right? Questions. Tell us what we got wrong. Tell us what you think we got right. And let's talk. Let's talk down there in the comments.
Yeah, absolutely. So thanks for everyone that is listening. We appreciate it. Subscribe if you haven't done that, so you always know when we have a new video posted, so you get first grabs. Try to get out there and be that first person that makes a comment. We like to see that. So
We do.
So from here, you guys take care. I'm gonna try and get better, so I'm not all nasally. But it is what it is.
It is what it is.
I am pushing through. Yeah, I am pushing through.
All right. No Pad Sports Talk. See you in the next video. Take care. Bye.
Yep, we're out.
Thanks for listening to No Pads Sports Talk. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss a single episode. While you're at it, help spread the word by leaving a rating and review wherever you listen to podcasts. Follow us on social media at No Pads Sports Talk.